Welcome. I am the storyteller, and it is my pleasure to tell you a story filled with mystery and intrigue. If you are not yet subscribed, please do so now. Enjoy the story. Imagine, if you will, a young woman named Sarah, on the cusp of adulthood, about to embark on a journey through time and space that would challenge everything she thought she knew about the world. It all began when Sarah turned 18, and her father, Michael, thought it was finally time to reveal the truth to her. You see, many of the stories he had told her at bedtime were not just tales, but actual adventures he had taken with a time machine he had built in their very own basement. And so, the very next night, Michael took Sarah down to the basement, and he revealed the time machine to her. There was a hidden entrance behind a bookcase in the basement. It was a strange, large contraption made of metals and wires, with a glowing orb at its center. When Michael activated the machine from a computer on a desk, it hummed and whirled to life, and the room began to fill with a bright light. Sarah couldn't believe her eyes. She did not know, but this was the moment she had been waiting her entire life for. She was about to embark on a journey through time, to see the wonders of the world with her own two eyes. As she stepped into the light, she couldn't shake the feeling of trepidation that gripped her. What if something went wrong? What if they got lost in time and couldn't find their way back? She brushed off those fears and closed her eyes, taking a deep breath one last time, and stepped into the light. When she opened her eyes again, she was in ancient Egypt. The heat was oppressive, and the sun was beating down on the face of her skin. But she was too awestruck to care. She was standing in front of the pyramids, and they were more magnificent than she could ever have imagined. Michael explained that they had arrived at a time and day and a place where no one would discover them. Sarah looked down and realized she was wearing linens worn at this time and period. Her father noticed her and explained the time machine he built not only puts their bodies into the past, but also it changes their attire to match. It seemed like a reasonable answer to her. After all, they just went back in time. Then they began to explore the land of the pharaohs, and Sarah was amazed by what she saw. She watched as workers dragged massive blocks of stone across the desert, and marveled at the precision with which the pyramids were constructed. Sarah had studied the pyramids at school, but she never truly appreciated the scale of the task until she saw it with her own eyes. It was truly astonishing to see the massive stones being transported and maneuvered with such precision. The process seemed to involve an intricate understanding of physics. As well, she marveled at the coordination of thousands of workers. But what Sarah found most interesting was the spirit of cooperation and community that surrounded the construction of the pyramids. It wasn't just a project of the pharaohs, but a communal effort with everyone working together, including the children who would bring water to the men who were working, and the women who would prepare all the meals. As she watched all the workers, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder at the sheer magnitude of the project. It was hard to believe that such a feat could be accomplished with the technology they had available at this time. But as they delved deeper into the pyramids, Sarah began to notice strange things. She would catch glimpses of objects and statues, writings that seemed to change at every glance. It was as if they didn't belong in this time or place, or they were being built and then unbuilt before her own eyes. It seemed strange to her, but there was just so much going on and so many things to look at, she shook it off. Later, when they roamed through the markets, Sarah began to see her mother's face multiple times throughout their journey. Each time she caught a glimpse of her, it was fleeting, and her mother quickly disappeared into the crowd. At first, Sarah thought this has got to be just her imagination. But the more she saw her, the more she began to believe that this was somehow, perhaps, all just a dream. She couldn't explain it. It all seemed so real to the touch, to the smell, but it felt as if maybe her mother was trying to communicate with her, to tell her something important. Sarah was both thrilled and terrified at this thought, and she couldn't shake this feeling that maybe her mother wasn't just trying to contact her, but also revealed a dark secret that had been hidden for years. Despite her fear, Sarah was determined to uncover the truth, and she knew that her mother's presence was key to unlocking this mystery. That evening, she discussed it with her father, while they sat by the fire keeping warm from the cold desert night. And for some reason, she only now finally noticed, not only does the clothing they wear change frequently, but her father seemed to age and get younger randomly as well. Her father just reassured her that this is simply the process of the time machine, and feelings of her mother was merely just in her head. The more she looked around, the more she thought, the more she began to suspect that her entire life might be a simulation. She couldn't shake the feeling that everything around her was just a program running on a computer, and that maybe none of this was real. She couldn't even piece together how she got from one area to another. Slowly but surely, Sarah began to piece together the clues that led her to a realization. She noticed the glitches in the simulation. Objects would be disappearing and then reappearing out of nowhere. She saw patterns in the way people move and talk, as if they were following a script. But the most striking clue was the sheer size of the pyramid project and how it differed so much from what she remembered from history class. It was as if the world she was seeing was an idealized version of the past, rather than an accurate representation. Sarah realized the simulation was not just a reflection of the past, but maybe a reflection of someone else's memories, someone else's desires, maybe her mother's. It was time for them to go home before they were discovered and altered history forever. They stepped back into the portal, and the last thing she remembered is she woke up the next day. She went downstairs immediately to confront her mother. She had all these questions about reality. Her mother was not fazed at all when talking about the adventure that she just had the night before. That seemed odd. She pushed her mother further. Her mother finally broke down. Sadness overcame her, and she began to explain that this is, in fact, a simulation. That she and her father, Michael, had passed away only 1 year ago in a car crash. Out of her grief, she opted to have their consciousness uploaded into a simulation. She knew that this would allow them to live out their wildest dreams together, and also so she could visit them from time to time. With this revelation, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness and hurt. The world she thought she knew was just a construct, and the people she loved were not really there. But even in this artificial world, she had found a sense of purpose, and recently a sense of adventure that she could never have imagined. And with her father Michael by her side, she knew that she could face whatever challenges the future held. For Sarah, the journey through time was not just a chance to see the wonders of the world, but a journey of self-discovery. She learned that sometimes the truth is not what we want it to be. But even in the face of disappointment and realization of her own loss of life, there was always hope. And with this hope comes the possibility of a new adventure, a new journey, and a new world waiting to be discovered. And so, dear listener, where will they go next?